Welcome to today's video. We're going to look at how to take our qualitative data, our categorical data, and turn it into a pie chart or bar graph using Google Sheets. I prefer Google Sheets. It's a little smarter than Excel when it comes to this particular feature. Though many of the sort of steps are the same with Excel if you were downloading the data. All right, so I have here all of our movie data from that giant movie spreadsheet. I just copied that genre one and I pulled it into a new page so we could focus on that. And if I want to create a chart, step one is to just select the data. And I can select the data by clicking on my column, and I have it all highlighted. Now I want to insert my chart. So there's two places I can go. One, on my bar up here, I have a little chart button, or I can go insert, and chart is right down here. And it defaults to a bar graph, which is one of the charts we do want today. So I'm going to keep the bar graph here. You're welcome. And now we're going to do a little bit of editing with our bar graph. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. I do want to change the title. So there's two ways I could change the title. One, I can highlight the title directly on the graph. Or two, under my customization menu, my customize, you'll see chart and axes titles. And I can click on that, and chart title allows me to change the chart title right here. And genres of top grossing films, because that's what all this data is. You know, I could change the font if I wanted to. I could, you know, look down here, I can change the font, I could change the size, you know, maybe I want to make it bold. And I sort of like to center headings, so I'm going to center it. You know, you could change the color, you know, maybe you want it pink. You know, there's all sorts of things you can do. The next thing is I'm going to, you know, it already labeled my category, so that's nice, but I'm going to add a few extra lines in here so I could actually get a count. So I'm going to go back to my Customize menu and move my video out of the way. And I'm going to actually look at the grid lines and ticks down here. And so I want to add in minor grid lines. So those are sort of the in-between numbers, but I want to get even more precise than that. So it's, you know, I'm going to step it and I want to count it by 1. And so basically each single gray line in here is a count of 1. And so what that allows me to do is then I can actually sort of see how many are in each bar. So I like to have that. So I turned on my minor grid lines and then I changed my minor spacing to be a step of 1. Right, so I've done that. I'm actually going to go back and change my axis titles now. So the horizontal axis is genre of movie. Just going to add that in. And then my vertical axis, yes, count works, but we like to use the term frequency in math. So that's sort of like the number that goes in each category. And then, ta-da, I'm sort of done with my bar graph. Now, what a bar graph sort of works nice for is, you know, I can use this and create my frequency table if I wasn't given one to start with. So I have these 5 different categories, and if I now look, okay, action and genre has 24 in it. So it has a frequency of 24. And then action here has 21. And then drama is down, I think, 2. And musicals is also 2. And thriller is just 1. And then if I total all of these, so there's some choices when dealing with Excel when it comes, or Google Sheets when it comes to total. I can hand total it in a calculator, or I can create what's known as a formula. So to do a formula, I hit the equals button, and I want it to add. And notice it actually defaulted what it wants me to add, but I'm going to type it in anyway. So I want it to add up, and then I have the numbers I want it to add. I want it to add all of these. And it should total 50 because there were 50 things in this. So that's one cool thing with Google Sheets is it does the calculations like right there in the document, and it's sort of nice to have. All right, so we did a bar graph. Our bars are separate. We see each category. The second type of graph we're going to make is a pie chart. So to make a pie chart, we're going to go through the same sort of first steps. So I'm going to highlight my categories, my genres. I'm going to insert a chart. Notice it defaulted back to the bar graph, but I want to change my chart type. And notice pie chart is suggested, so I'm going to switch it to a pie chart. And the nice thing about a pie chart in my computer is it, creates the correct percentages of the circle. I don't have to figure it out. It does it for me. The only thing I really need to change with my pie chart is the title. So again, I'm going to do genre of top grossing movies. Oops. This time, I just sort of typed it straight into the graph. I can change my font. Oops, I cannot change my font here. If I wanted to change my font, I have to go in my menu. And this time, let's make it teal as my title. But what you should notice in your pie chart, which is sort of cool, is underneath each piece of my pie, not only does it give me my count, it also gives me my percentage. So that percentage is my relative frequency. So if I go up here, adventure is 48%. So I can go over here and write 48%. And I don't have to do any calculating. And then I can do, what's the next one? Action. Action's 42%. And then drama was 4%. And since musical says the same number, it's also 4%. And, thriller and suspense was 2%. And if my percents are done correctly, they should sum up to 100% if everything was set up correctly, and they do. Now, in the last column of a frequency table, we tend to have our cumulative frequency or our cumulative relative frequency. And it's sort of up to you which one you want to do. I like to view that column as my built-in check that I did everything right. So if I'm doing a cumulative relative frequency, then I'm looking at the percent total. So in this case, I would total 100%, but it's a running total as I work my way down. So like the first column is just 48 because that's what it was in the column next to it. But the next column, I'm actually adding 48 plus 42 because I'm adding my top two columns together, and that gets me 90. And then the next column is taking that 90, the two we've already done, and adding 4 to it. So that's 94. And then the next column is adding another 4, which is 98. And then we're adding our last 2, which gets us to the 100% total that we should be at. And so that's sort of a way of how we took our bar graphs, took our pie charts, created a frequency table from them, and then we could, make conclusions. We can sort of look at things, describe what's happening with the data. I would say, people, if I were, headlining my bar graph, I might be like, people clearly prefer action adventure movies to other genres. All right, we're now going to flip gears a little, and we're now going to look at, oops, and I want to delete this chart so you know how I made it. We're going to look at how we do our qualitative data displays when we're given a frequency table to start instead of a list of categories. So in this case, we have a frequency table. It has the genre of our best picture winners. So I want to create a bar graph or pie chart that shows the genre and then the number of films within that genre. That's 1. So to do that, I need to highlight columns. Now, first I want to make sure that, one of the columns I'm looking at is already highlighted. And then I'm going to hit, the key with this is control, because I have a column in between I don't want to deal with. So if I hit control and I click on A, I highlight A. And then I'm going to also C here. And so I have my 2 columns highlighted. And then I'm going to insert a chart. And the chart that I want pops up. So I'm going to rename my bar graph genre of best picture winners. And so, my x-axis is already labeled genre because I have this sort of heading in my spreadsheet, and then this is number of winners. Just like before, we can customize our axes if we want. We could change the types of bars. So I'm going to add, I like to, count a little more. So maybe count by 2s here. just to give me a better sense of what's going on. You know, I have my bar graph. I could do the same idea, you know, control, select, oops, but I don't want L selected. I made this mistake earlier today. So I'm going to highlight A, hit control, highlight C, insert chart. Now I want a pie chart. So I'm going to go up column type, put a pie chart, and I get sort of, you know, a better visualization. I sort of like the pie chart a little better with this one. And so I would call this genre, and this is one I definitely need to rename, Best Picture Winners. And then I have, you know, a pretty little pie chart that models this data. But the key was when I have a frequency table, I need to highlight both the category and the number to get my data display. So hopefully this video helped clear up or allows you to watch through what do I need to do if I want to create a data display within Google Sheets. And stay tuned to the next video. We'll sort of walk through what to do with our quantitative data.